Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level social studies lesson, and today we're going to talk about real-world ethical dilemmas. So read each of these ethical systems and give some examples. Utilitarianism, that's where you choose the um, outcome that makes the most people happy. So in this example, dividing the cake into equal pieces so that everyone gets the same. Virtue ethics is this example. He's giving water to a homeless person, doing things because they're the right thing to do. And deontology is telling the truth no matter what. So in this lesson, we will think about ethical dilemmas. So read this text and complete with the words in the boxes. And before you do that, there's one vocabulary word, consequence, which is a noun, means a result of something that has happened. All right, an ethical dilemma is a problem where it is hard to decide what is right or wrong. In an ethical dilemma, a person must choose between two or more options, but none of the options seem perfect. Each option might have good and bad consequences. For example, imagine you find money in the street. One choice is to keep the money, but that might feel wrong. Another choice is to return the money, but you might need it yourself. Both choices are difficult, and it is hard to know what the right decision is. Ethical dilemmas make us think carefully about our values. So Veronica and Toby are talking about finding money in the street, and whose ideas are closest to your own? Veronica says, if I found some money in the street, I would take it to the police. Toby says, I don't know. If I were in that situation, I would keep the money. So which person do you agree more with? So look again at what Veronica and Toby said and answer the questions. So did Veronica find some money in the street? No, she didn't. Did she take it to the police? No. Was Toby in that situation? No, because he uses an if statement. And did he keep the money? No, because he says, I would, but it isn't a situation that has actually happened. So that leads us into a discussion of second conditionals, where we're talking about an unlikely future. We use the second conditional when we imagine a situation and a result in the future that is unlikely, unreal, or impossible. So if I found some money in the street, then I would take it to the police. So in the example, Veronica thinks it is unlikely that she would find some money in the street. So which tense is used in the if clause? So if I found some money, that would be the simple past. And which tense is used in the result clause? I would take it to the police. So forming the second conditional, we have the if clause with past simple, and the result clause, we need to use one of the modal verbs would, wouldn't, could, or couldn't. So if I found some money in the street, I would take it to the police. If I saw someone in trouble, if she saw someone in trouble, she wouldn't walk away. If I were in that situation, I would keep the money. And so there's one thing to notice about the form of the verb be. When you're in the second conditional, you use if I were. Normally, the simple past with I would be was, but because it's the second conditional with an if statement, we use were. So this is the only time we use were with I. All right, so now complete the second conditionals with the verbs in parentheses. You can pause the video and try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So if I saw someone steal from a store, I would report it to the manager. If I found a phone in the park, I would try to return it to its owners. If my friend cheated on a test, I would not tell the teacher. If someone threw trash on the ground, I would pick it up. If I had to choose between being honest and being kind, I would choose to be kind. If my friend asked me to do something wrong, I would refuse. All right, so now make some of your own sentences using the prompts below. So you can pause the video, go ahead and try these on your own. I'll give some possible answers, but yours might be different. So if I found a lost pet in my neighborhood, I would ask my neighbors if they recognized the pet. If I saw someone copying answers during a test, I would mind my own business. If my friend asked me to lie for them, I wouldn't do it. If I accidentally damaged something expensive at a store, I would offer to pay for it. And if I heard my friend telling lies about me, I would ask her why she said those things. All right, and then we're going to read the scenario about a moral dilemma, and then you can answer the questions. Before you read, here's the vocabulary words: scholarship, which is a noun, and that's money given to somebody by an organization to help pay for their education. Now you can pause the video, read this on your own, or you can follow along as I read. You and your best friend Alex are both applying for a scholarship that will cover the cost of going to college. There is only one scholarship available. You know Alex's family has money problems, and without the scholarship, Alex may not be able to go to college. However, you also really want the scholarship. You discover that Alex has made a mistake on his application. This mistake could mean that Alex's application fails and you get the scholarship. So the dilemma: should you tell Alex about his mistake? So if you were in this situation, what would you do? And how would Alex feel if you didn't tell him? So just go ahead and think about that. That's no really right or wrong answer. It's just kind of what you believe in terms of your values and ethics. All right, so how did you decide what was the right thing to do? And would your opinions change if you heard some other options? So, for example, I would say I probably would tell Alex about the mistake, because if he and I are friends, and I got the scholarship simply because he had made a mistake on the application, I think that I would feel bad about treating my friend this way. And plus, if I didn't tell him and he found out that I could have helped, it would probably end our friendship. And I would think that the friendship would be more important than the scholarship. So if you had a different answer, would hearing that answer that I gave change your opinion? All right, here's another moral dilemma. Contribute is a verb. It means to work to help achieve something. You are part of a group project in school with 3 other classmates. One of your group members, Luis, hasn't done any work. You know that he is sad because he recently broke up with his girlfriend. The project is due tomorrow, and the rest of the group has worked hard to finish it. The teacher will give individual scores based on the group's overall performance, but the teacher won't know who did or didn't contribute unless you tell them. Should you tell the teacher that Luis didn't do any work, which could result in him getting a lower score? Or should you let him share the group score even though he didn't help? So if you were in the situation, what would you do? And how would Louise feel if you told the teacher? Well, my personal opinion, I would tell the teacher that Louise didn't help because I think it wouldn't be fair to the other members of the group who did their fair share of the work to allow Louise to share in the project. Luis might feel upset, but he could have asked for other members of the group to help him. He could have. There are other things that he could have done simply instead of just not participating. So my opinion is that he should not be able to share in the group grade if he didn't contribute. So again, think about your own response. How did you decide what was the right thing to do? And did your opinion change after hearing a sample response? All right, now we're going to match the words from this lesson to the definition. So go ahead and pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So to work to help achieve something would be to contribute. Money given to somebody by an organization to help pay for their education is a scholarship. A situation in which you have to make a very difficult choice, that is a dilemma. A description of events to consider is a scenario. And the result of something that has happened is a consequence. So think about what we've covered in this lesson and answer these questions. So what are some examples of ethical dilemmas, and what would you do in these situations? And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.